All right. Good afternoon, tribe. Friday afternoon. Is it Friday?
I don't know. I've lost track of time, lost track of days.
Glad that you guys are joining us, and we're excited about our guest today. And I think you guys are all gonna really. He's become a really close friend of ours, which I'm very honored to have you on here. So thank you for taking the time. I know you're super busy right now. But.
Right. Super. A great and humble soul to be around, which is one part I really love about this tribe is like to a person, everybody is so humble and giving and just on top of being super intelligent, just excellent people. And Barton Scott is one of those. And Barton is the founder of Upgraded Formulas. A chemical engineer by training, I guess we could say, or by education, and a self-made life story. And the fact that Barton, you were sick and had to figure it out, like so many people that are in this tribe. You had the benefit of having a chemical engineering background, or maybe that was not a benefit. I'm not sure. Tell us about your story. How'd you get here?
And wait, you're also a nutritionist, so where did that all play in there?
Yeah, certainly. So I started studying nutrition at 13 when I was a wrestler. I'd wrestled since I was in third grade. Like a lot of people, sports really forced me into thinking about health, thinking about nutrition. And from all those two-a-days, like Keith, you know about this, a lot of people listening, you know about this. You're sweating out nutrients and you're sweating out minerals. And unlike vitamins, your body can't make minerals. So I really took a first principles approach and thinking about problem solving. So, I lost my health, really lost my short-term memory for a while right after college. And I knew I was going to lose my job as an engineer if it kept going, if it became worse. And because it happened so early in life, I knew I had to fix it. And I was already taking the best products I could find for minerals. So for example, I was chronically deficient in magnesium, but I was taking lots of magnesium, right? So I knew the problem wasn't that it was quality. I knew it was absorption. And that's really what chemical engineers get trained in. We spend really our whole curriculum understanding how we can apply high-level mathematics and physics and chemistry and biology to making a process more efficient, more absorbable. So understanding that, I just realized at some point, I was like, wow, look, I've done a hair analysis. I've done over $10,000 in testing just in this 1 year. How do I make it actionable? So if anyone's thinking right now, like, okay, that's great, but we have coronavirus. Well, listen, one of the things we test for, and this is a test we offer today because it's actionable and because we can provide a solution that really moves the needle right now. Zinc and copper is a key ratio that we test for. And when you don't have enough zinc and when you don't have enough copper, bad things happen. So let's get into that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, the things that, I was born to older parents. I lost my mother early in life. I started thinking about longevity at an early age. And I knew that what drove longevity, well-being, mental acuity, a lot of this, really all of it was in some way, shape, or form dependent on having not only enough minerals, but the right minerals in the right ratio. So testing and then truly having something that absorbed was so critical, and that could filter up and provide the foundation that we need in life to really thrive. So yeah,
very interesting.
So that's a big thing on immunity too, obviously.
How did you come across the hair test? Because the hair test is a very accurate, it's almost like tree rings, right? Hair leaves a trail, leaves an evidence trail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so with blood, you get, one thing your doctor will always tell you. I know you guys work with some great doctors like Dr. Strickler. One thing they'll tell you though is fast before your blood work, which means it's about a day's worth of data instead of I want a month's worth of data or more, because then you're looking at so much more that you're averaging, right? Because you're averaging 30 days, 45 days of data. It's 4 to 6 weeks, really, is what it is. So people take our test and they figure out about every 90 days, and they figure out what minerals they really need. And that really drives how your immune system functions, because taking elderberry and taking mushrooms and taking a lot of other things can really help. And I do those things. But I promise you, it's not even my opinion when I say that if you don't have the mineral basis, if you don't have that foundation, putting nice windows in the house is not going to matter much, not over the long term. That foundation's really got to be there. I think when people hear that, they go, yeah, I get that. And we can, we can validate whether or not that's the case for them. So with the Apple test.
And to your point, hair is an indication of absorption, right? So if it doesn't make it into your hair, it obviously didn't get absorbed in your system.
Right. I mean, three things we look at really is, with hair, it's, to your point, it's a measure of absorption, because it's showing, it's a living tissue, just like your skin. We say our skin is our largest organ, right? And really our hair, when we're taking our hair sample, that is a core sample. That's a great metaphor, Keith. It's a really great metaphor for what it is. So understanding, one thing we say, one of our slogans is test, don't guess. So, I hate to see people spending hundreds and hundreds a month on supplements that they are pretty sure they need, instead of things that they know that they don't need to take, and things that they know that they do need to take. Because the other thing that you see, and this is key right now for people too, it's very like on the nose, is what if you're taking something that is pushing out, let's say you're already high in it, which is the case sometimes, and then you're taking more of it. Well, you're pushing out other things. So right now, a lot of people are taking vitamin C, okay? And the thing that they don't understand about vitamin C that's super helpful to know right now from protecting yourself with everything that's going on is when you take a lot of vitamin C, so your levels go up in vitamin C, what happens to your copper levels? Well, your copper levels start coming down. Your iron levels start going up, and your zinc levels start coming down. Now, zinc is considered to be antiviral, right? So, but zinc is, so that's another thing we can really jump into if you'd like, and how you can kind of prevent yourself from a viral infection, or at least, I don't want to say prevent, but take the measures that you should be taking to provide yourself the best effort to really be in a good place. So
yeah, the one thing is that especially what we're seeing with coronavirus is that the people that are really severely affected by this are the much older, or the people that are already immunocompromised or have serious health issues going on. But say you're just like in the middle of the road, average Joe person, I eat healthy kind of, but then I, have the occasional junk food and don't really concern myself until now. Now I'm concerned because my health isn't optimal. My health is kind of average. But like, where would somebody like that, where would they start, as far as you're concerned, to really start building their health and building their immunity? Ooh.
Great question. All right. So immunity at any age. So this applies to, if you're watching this applies to you. It is really, really going to be dependent in what are your mineral deficiencies? Because if you don't have mineral deficiencies, you don't accumulate toxins as easily. You don't accumulate heavy metals nearly as easily. It's just physics. It's not an opinion. It's an electrical charge that minerals produce in the body. Problem is, a lot of people understand that, but the problem is can you absorb them, and do you know if you need them? So great question. Step one, if you have the time, is which we all do right now. Frankly, a lot of us are sitting around wasting gobs of time. And then we tune into something like this. So I strongly recommend getting a hair analysis and a consultation. We offer those at Upgraded Formulas. And then we have a number of different products. Yeah, we have zinc. You can grab some of that. Yes, I mean, we're selling out of it, but we still have stock of that. We have something that I really, really like that I've assembled a long time ago that balances that zinc to copper ratio. And that is a multi-mineral supplement. It's got 4 minerals in it, 2 of which are zinc and copper. Iodine and selenium are the other 2, but the zinc and copper are at 50% of your daily value. And with ours, you need less milligrams anyway. So it's a really, really good dose. You can do it once a day and feel protected. And that's really something if someone is just going to grab something, I highly recommend that. It's really doing your best to cover your bases with something you'll absorb. Because here's the thing, right? If you have, so zinc, we consider it to be antiviral, but do you really know why it's considered antiviral? Well, it's because if you have too much copper in your body, you push out the zinc, and now you're susceptible to a viral infection, which is, chills. Feverish sort of symptoms, that's a bacterial infection, that's copper related. Copper is also, you can think of them almost like masculine, really you can, masculine and feminine too. It's really, really interesting what they do. So with too much of one, you start to become very left-brained. With too much of the other, you become very right-brained. Creativity right now is in short supply, and we're upping our dose of zinc right now, which is interesting. So we really need to balance that with copper so we can problem solve. And these do drive our hormonal balances too: progesterone, testosterone, estrogen. That's zinc and copper. So it's really, really interesting to see where someone is and see what we can do to bring them up with our testing and with our supplements. So
we'll put a link in the comments to go and be able to check out Upgraded Formulas and all the stuff that they have. And I think we've got some offers and everything for people as well. And then anybody that's watching, if you have questions for Barton, please put it in the comments. And if you're watching on replay, go ahead and put questions in the comments. We'll get a hold of Barton and have him come back and answer the questions for you at a later time.
Barton, I think it's interesting that so absorption of minerals is a big player, yes, but I think it's also important to reiterate the fact that we live in an environment where our soils have been depleted to the point where they just don't carry the mineral content that they once carried. Ergo, that mineral content in the foods we eat, even if we quote unquote healthy, the mineral content is diminished. And if you have a diminished going in and a diminished absorption ability, you're really behind the 8 ball at that point.
That's right. And Keith, that's exactly where I was. And for a lot of you listening, you've probably been aware of gut health and trying to improve your gut health and trying to seal up leaky junctions. I knew that was always going to be a problem with people as our world became more and more toxic, as people became more stressed. So I wanted to think about, and that's what we offer today, is a way to get those minerals into the cell, into the mitochondria without digestion, and then be able to, in some cases, feel it work. Like in the case of our magnesium, Michelle, I know, you've experienced having a cramp, trying the magnesium and feeling it go away. Like it works. You've got to dilute it. You've got to mix it with water because the taste is considerable. But hey, it works. At least it works. And when the tears roll, when you're in pain, I mean, these are great times to have these things stocked up. So our magnesium, people sleep better from the very first night because it works. And that's true even if they were already taking, like a lot of you are, that are watching this, you're already taking a magnesium supplement. You're already taking multiple forms of magnesium and things. But if you're absorbing 20% of it, it's really, really difficult to feel the benefits. And it's really hard to have those symptoms be alleviated when you're not absorbing them. When the deficiency stays, the symptoms stay. And then if unchecked, you start to get into chronic dysfunction and then disease. So It is true that end of life, all-cause mortality, people are deficient in minerals across the board, and that you can reverse that and therefore really build up that immune system as well.
So I have a question for you, especially because of the fact that you, yes, I had a really horrible cramp one evening, and fortunately for me, Barton was in the house and was able to get Magnesium. It was like really painful, actually, a very, very, very painful cramp. Really, I've had a broken ankle since December. I broke my ankle, and now it's recovering. And actually, seems to be healing this one night, and fortunately for me, Barton was there with magnesium. My question for you, Barton, is this: we see lots of different types of magnesium out on the market. What is the type of magnesium that you use, and what is the difference in the different types of magnesium, and do they have a different function, and how does all of that work, and what is it exactly we need?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that in itself could be a whole podcast, but I'll say generally, the real focus, if I could allow me to shift the focus a little bit, it's truly less about the forms, like threonate over this, over that. Ours is magnesium chloride because it works with all tissues in the body, and then if only we could get it into the blood, I thought, but in our case, we can. So of course it crosses into the brain as well and can nourish that as well. So if you're only going to take one, yeah, give our magnesium chloride a try, because it's our process digests it for you, really, is what happens. So what I did for Michelle, for anyone listening there, is I took it out of the capsules. So we have a liquid, but I had capsules with me because they travel really well. Unscrewed the capsules so she wouldn't have to digest that. Mixed in a little bit of water. Didn't do any flavoring or anything. So, you can always put in some lemon juice, and that really masks the taste. But, having flavors can really disrupt the absorption, and you have to digest it, go through the whole process. So instead of doing that, just shoot it like a shot, have another sip of water, and it goes right into your cells. It starts working. So I told you, I said, hey, you probably will have, this will probably go away in 5 minutes, but for sure in 10, it'll be gone. And it was. So potassium, magnesium, those are really, really great things to have. It's usually one that either the muscle needs to contract and it can't, or it needs to relax and it can't. So being able to do both of those, I take both of those, I upgrade potassium, upgrade magnesium every night before bed. And it just helps everything in my body do what it needs to do so that I can hit that deep sleep and stay there, which is something I'd love to touch on. I think, people right now, even if you're really, really knowledgeable about health, your deep sleep, your REM has probably dropped. And adding these in right now can really, Keith, Michelle, I know you guys know this, but and if you're watching this, you might know this too, but think about it. I just want to remind you, to sleep well is to boost your immune system naturally. And it's the easiest, most effective way. So if you can I know it's stressful. I know I know everyone's talking about working out, meditating, going on walks, having conversations, even if you're isolated, at least calling people, at least doing what we're doing and having some video. It's great to see you guys.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad we're doing this, because we get more, even if we're not in person, get to see, even if it's virtual. So all of that's great. So reducing the burden, but you still have to provide your body the raw materials to make things like melatonin, because taking melatonin is not a great solution, not long term, because your body's going to downregulate that production over time. So, but magnesium, that is the raw material. So your body's it's like paper in a paper mill. You've got trees on one side, you have paper coming out. You have magnesium coming in, you've got melatonin going out. And yeah, so it's really, really incredible, I would say. We can also touch on iodine too. So that's another antiviral.
Yeah, well,
we
and
have.
I've always done like a little bit of selenium and iodine because I have hypothyroid. So
Yeah.
I'd love for you to touch on the fact that iodine, which I did not know, is antiviral. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Neither did I.
Yeah. So iodine is really, really interesting. So it's antiviral. It's been shown in studies to keep viruses from replicating. So in the presence of iodine, they put iodine in a petri dish. They put in the petri dish. They have viruses of different types. They have iodine. They stop replicating. They don't continue to replicate, which is great. So and it's also a key mineral for thyroid function, as you know. It's also linked to intelligence too.
Yeah.
And just it's really a really interesting sort of solution. So that's something that I do every day anyway. But if you're on the low end of the thyroid spectrum, you can take our multi-mineral that I've designed that anyone can take because of the ratios that I've balanced. It has a touch of iodine in it itself, but our iodine product on the other, just by itself, has a much larger dose. So if you're on the low end of the spectrum for iodine, taking our peak thyroid and taking iodine together is just a winning solution. And then taking our magnesium is great too. So you sleep well, rest, recover. The potassium for adrenals, because I mean, if you're not giving your adrenals the currency they need to spend in, your thyroid's going to be your thyroid's going to be downregulated, right? So if you give your adrenals first what they need, which is magnesium, potassium, sodium. So I'll say those again: magnesium, potassium, sodium for anyone listening. So doing some good salt, doing that, and then checking in, doing your selenium, like Michelle mentioned, doing your iodine, right? And iodine's antiviral. So boom, winner, double winner there. Doing your zinc and copper and peak thyroid, making sure that you're protecting against both viral and bacterial infections. This is, I mean, it's just, it's really essential right now. It's always been important, and it's absolutely essential right now.
Barton, how often do you recommend doing the hair test?
I do it yeah, that's a great question. There's options on the site right now. You can buy it a one time, you can do 90 days, you can do 60 days. I personally do about every 60 days. A lot of our customers, most of them do every 3 months or every 90 days. Right now, I'd probably be testing every 60 because why not? Just making sure that you're, again, you want to make sure. So we look at 7 significant ratios on our particular test, and that's the most of any hair test out there. And it's really incredible because we see a window into thyroid function, into zinc to copper ratios, into metabolism, like calcium to phosphorus. I mean, that there's so many things, into adrenal function, sodium to potassium. So it's really interesting. There's so much between the numbers. There's so much that's right there on the page that virtually no one that I've met truly knows how to understand and really read it and really decipher and link patterns. But once you have that information, this is why we have consultations. So we have a nutritionist that I've trained myself that takes those calls now for people, and she does an amazing job. So yeah.
Okay, so I have a quick question. For those of us women who have gray hair and we color our hair,
yeah,
how does coloring or dyeing your hair affect the hair analysis?
Yeah, so that's a question we get pretty often. You get a couple, we have a section called additional elements, which aren't as important as we test for about 60 different things in the hair test. Some of those are mineral deficiencies, some of those are heavy metals, some are additional elements, things that most people have never heard of, like germanium, vanadium, bismuth, all sorts of stuff like that. Sometimes you start to get false positives for things like titanium, bismuth, things like that. That's not really essential. That's not really going to disrupt the overall thing. It's going to, it's just way better to get the most valuable information, which is not going to be affected. So yeah, great question. I'm glad you asked that. So yeah, I mean, what you do want to do as you're taking the sample, you can have, if you have someone in the house, like you guys, you could do it for yourselves. But I've done my own before plenty of times as well. But you just want to cut that closest half inch or so to the scalp, and then if someone's like, "Wow, that sounds great," but I shaved my head or don't have any hair on my head, you can do underarm, you can do pubic. Guys, you can do chest hair possibly. And we have a little scale, but you want to do about a heaping teaspoon at least, just to make sure there's plenty of hair to get a nice, good, verifiable average, so it's accurate.
Yeah, I think that was the next question. And I've heard you talking with people and telling them about a hair test, and they wig out because they think it's going to be a big like swath of hair. And it's not.
Yeah,
it's
so what we're going to want you to do for a little humor to reset things is just like, we're going to want you to mohawk your head. I'm kidding. You don't have to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, most of us are not leaving our house anyway, right? So just mohawk your head. No. Right. So yeah, luckily you can just follow the instructions on the kit. I promise. 99.99% of people are going to have enough hair to do our consultation and our kit. So you're in that group for sure. And yeah, we'll get it sent in. Don't worry about dyeing your hair, or if the hair has dye on it. I mean, it's better if it doesn't, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the most important aspect. So
cool.
Any
great questions?
Words of wisdom?
Yeah, actually, so I'm putting out an article soon on our upgraded formula site. So anyone listening, check that out, because it's going to be a more just a further fleshed out conversation of what we're talking about today as it relates to zinc and copper. There's some really interesting things out there. So it's a free article. I'll put that out soon in the next week. But if you haven't already, you can click the link below. I think Michelle and Keith have something for you there. That'll take you to our website. We have a virus support sort of bundle there. But yeah, there's a great article coming out on that I've written. We just need to put it up, and just get on our email list, because we'll email it out to you. So yeah, if you hop on the email list at Upgraded Formulas, I think you'll like seeing that. And yeah, we'll have a code for you guys too. If do you guys have a code?
Yeah, I think we do. In
okay,
fact,
great.
I'll get it put into the comments here. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
PFX 20.
Okay, hold on. Hang on. I'm going to put it in right now.
Awesome.
Let me make sure I spelled it right. Formulas. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's really helpful for people. On my end, I think because of the interface we're using right now with StreamYard, I don't see the chat very well, but certainly I can answer some other questions that people have, whether it's around this or something related. But anything mineral deficiency, anything really health-wise right now regarding the immune system, I can certainly give you some pointers, some advice, some things that you definitely want to be doing, just to give you a natural boost to the immune system that's not going to be too difficult. Like, for example, not taking too much vitamin C. There's too much of a good thing right now. So, yeah, testing and not guessing is important.
It always comes back to the basics, doesn't it, Barton? It doesn't have to be super complicated. Say that 3 times fast for me. It just has to work, and it really does come back to the basics, whether you're training or diet or supplementation. I mean, I think people try to overthink it too much. And yeah, really, it's just pretty simple, really. I say pretty simple when you have a genius like Barton figuring out the back end with the absorption issues, but
yeah. It's been my life's work. I mean, we all have our area. Like, you know, I'm amazed what I learn when I talk with you about strength and performance. You know, we all have our areas, right? And for me, understanding this lens as a chemical engineer, it's a lens that, you know, like a doctor is not going to ever have that lens. They're not trained in that. Even a chemist is not going to understand how to put a process together. And you know, and it's so we're all working on it from our different angles. And I think it's really, you know, as an engineer, they just teach you how to problem solve in a different way using physics and mathematics and chemistry. And you know, a lot of testing in school, you start tests sometimes and you're told there may not be a solution to this problem. Those are the type of problems you're trying to solve all the time. So you get used to this, like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to succeed and show your work when you succeed and prove it. So I really had this like totally different framework, and it took me a while to realize that. It took me a while to realize, well, why isn't this being done better by big companies with a lot of funding? And it's just that the lens was not there because, you know, yeah, I'm a nutritionist as well, and I've worked with lots of patients for a long time now, but I mean, just as that lens alone wouldn't have done it, but I could tell, you know, in talking with most of my patients that were, you know, 45, 55, 65, 75, this was a problem that was going to eventually plague everyone, right? And it just happened to me sooner in life because I was sweating. I was doing 2-a-days my whole life, basically, since I was like 6. In different sports, and you know, you sweat a lot with wrestling in particular. So, and you're cutting weight, and you're kind of not bringing in enough nutrients often, and that's true for women too. They're doing other things like ballet and other things where they're calorically restricting. So maybe they're prepping for that you know, fitness show or something, and they're, you know, like I had Robert Sykes on my podcast, To Upgrade, and you know, he's talked about how he induced a lot of nutritional deficiencies just from, you know, kind of starving himself unintentionally. He thought that's the way to do it. And in that process, like Keith said earlier, you know, the soil doesn't have what it used to have in it. So, you know, even if you're eating that steak, it has about half the iron it used to have, half the manganese. Manganese is important for memory function. You know, all these different things. I just find that we just don't know enough about minerals, and they drive. I mean, it's an elemental world. Our whole planet's made of it, and yet we don't understand. Not enough of us understand enough. So it's really just my mission to help people understand that and how it can really be used to greatly improve your health. So,
we are, in fact, made of stardust, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. It's a beautiful quote. It's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah. We're all the stuff of exploded stars, and that's one way that the universe knows itself and we know each other. So yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming on. Again, if you are watching in the replay, please put your questions in the comments, and we can get Barton to come back and answer
we won't
those
be
questions.
able to answer them.
No, we clearly won't, now that we know that all the stuff we didn't know before this
that's why we hang around with people like Barton.
That's right.
Oh God, that's why I hang around with you guys. We're always learning, learning from each other.
We hang around the experts so we don't have to be one.
That's right.
Anyway, we don't have to do that work.
Being the smartest person in the room is never our problem.
No.
Or at least mine.
Me neither. Anyway. All righty. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. The link is in the comments. And then if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and we'll get Bart to come back and answer them. Thank you, guys. And we will see you guys again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Enjoyed it.